Yes, what's happening, people? Big up yourselves every time. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, please do me a favor, subscribe. Always make sure you're smashing that like button. And I've got a good one for you today. For those who are KOP-ISH subscribers, you would have seen side before. We've had a few good talks on our members, and I think one on the main channel as well. I brought him back because everybody said how much they enjoyed it. So, Si, big up yourself, bro. Welcome, debut on my channel. So, big up, bro.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm back behind enemy lines again.
Yeah, and now this is real enemy lines because normally we're just last year it was you up against City and I was the bystander. Before that, it would have been you would have been the bystander. Now we're all in it.
I know. I said, I don't know if you remember earlier in the year in our WhatsApp group, I said when it looked like Liverpool and Arsenal might be in a title race, I said I'd rather Arsenal just drop out in November because I don't think my heart can take losing to Liverpool game of the season and all that entails. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah, here we are, man. So we're gonna delve into it. A little bit of housekeeping. I just want to say as a thank you to everyone. Actually, just quickly, big up to everyone who's watching. Thanks to all you subscribing and watching and commenting and everything. My channel is officially monetized now, so I want to thank everyone for that. Big up for getting me there. Not quite at 2,000 yet, guys, but we're on the road. We're almost there. I think I'm about 80 shy. So if you haven't subscribed, please do remember to subscribe, guys. And yeah, I do appreciate you lot getting me to monetization now. So super chats and memberships and everything's open now. So I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do for you guys as a membership. And yeah, big up, man. We're gonna keep this train moving. So, bro, your heart can't take it. My heart can't take it. You know already, bro. I'm real with it. I don't pull no punches. I don't make no excuses. I hate Arsenal, and I know you feel very similar about Liverpool. And it's not even about the teams. We've always said it's about the fans. There's nothing to hate about Arsenal Football Club themselves. They do things right. They're pretty classy with everything. They don't really have any CUNTs that play for them. Like, there's not actually anything to hate about Arsenal. But the fan base, ooh, the fan base is killing me, bro. The fan base is killing me. And the funny thing is, we've matured so much over the years of our friendship that we have proper conversations now. But I'm sure our child has got a lot to do with me hating Arsenal fans as well, because you lot used to give it, we'd give it. It was crazy, bro. So from your end of the pond now, how does this feel at the moment, this mad Liverpool Arsenal actually in a title race rivalry?
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because, like you said, like before I met you, which would have been what 2003, 2004. I didn't think anything about Liverpool other than there was the cup final in 2001 with all the handballs and we lost. But like, I don't know, I was never. It's the FA Cup. Like, the FA Cups are nice to win, but I was even all that time ago, I remember like I wasn't overly like annoyed by it. But then as soon as I your lot. And it just starts the conversations about oh, we've got the best players, no, we got the best players. And it's funny because this whole time that really set in the dislike for each other's clubs, neither of them were really competing for the league in that time. We were like arguing basically who's the fourth best team in the league.
Yes, basically.
The damage was done, right? So it's and then there was obviously the period where Liverpool got serious again and Arsenal weren't, and it kind of things tailed off a bit because you can try and argue as much as you want, but when your team's finishing 8th and the other team's getting 97 points, like you don't have a lot to hold on to from an argumentative point of view. But yeah, I think the thing that all fans do with Manchester City is that, one, we don't know a lot of City fans because, let's be realistic, like pre-2012 there probably weren't many. And you know, obviously if you're a City fan and you take the success and you love the success, but there will always be a bit of it's synthetic, you know, it's not real with City, at least from our perspective. And you know what? Quite snobby, it might be a bit pretentious, but it is what it is. So like with Liverpool and Arsenal, I think it feels like you said they're like, I think they're quite They're two very similar clubs in how they set up, in their tradition, in the way they behave as a football club. But there's probably more similarities there. But yeah, the fan base, just depending on which circles of the fan base you go in, because the same way that you say Arsenal have the worst fans, like I feel like Liverpool have the worst fans, but it's not say all Liverpool fans are the worst. It's just what I've seen. And the reality is, when Manchester United are doing well, I think Manchester United have the worst fans because they all come out of the woodwork. It's not,
bro, I've been trying to remind everybody about this for years. Just because, man, you are crap, don't forget what they're like. If they start winning again, you will see the worst group of people being shameless and all that. Like, bro, look, when they beat us in the FA Cup, but we thought they'd won the World Cup the way they were acting, bro. Do you know what I mean? It was only a quarter final. They're acting like they won the actual final, bro. I was just like, here we go. Told you a lot about these guys. Told you about them.
I think it's because Arsenal, obviously, like in terms of success, it probably goes United, Liverpool, Arsenal, maybe Liverpool first. I'm not sure who's won more trophies out of you and United. I know Arsenal certainly third there, but they are
head officially now.
They are like the three legacy clubs of English football, aren't they? Like they are there's rivalries there from Arsenal, Man United perspective, going back to the kind of late 90s, early 2000s with the Wenger and Ferguson stuff, and obviously the Liverpool rivalry goes back, yonkers, because obviously geographically the distance isn't that much between the two clubs and the scale of the United Kingdom anyway. It's always fun. Arsenal, like all the way down south, right, in London, and like 250 miles away, but there's just like intense. I think the rivalry between Arsenal and Liverpool is more between the fans, but like with Arsenal and United, there's still this like ish United, this Arsenal, like we hate each other.
You see it when you lot play. You lot can be better than them and still lose at Old Trafford. It's a really weird thing.
I think it's one of the fixtures I'm least looking forward to this season, because the amount of times that we've gone to Old Trafford miles better than them and we still come back with nothing. It's a psychological thing, isn't it? So yeah, like it's still like this. I guess it's a little like you lot have beat them more than you haven't over the last few years, but I think when you play them, there's still an element of like it's United. Like they might do something kind of like they did in the quarterfinal, like the draw at Anfield, right? Like you'll either beat them 4-1, but you never know. Like you smash them 7-0, but even that, you still go into the next game probably thinking, it's still United. They might like do something against us.
No, 100%, bro. I mean, we'll actually get onto that fixture in a minute, actually, because I do want to touch on the fixtures. So this is the first real big Arsenal versus Liverpool since who's better at Fabregas and Xabi Alonso, really? Do you remember that argument?
I remember that. I know that the more embarrassing one that we had, which I don't think either of us particularly came off looking too well in, is who's better out of Ramsey and Henderson. I remember that being.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I definitely remember that one.
And at the time, Ramsey was obviously, Arsenal's best player and the reason they're doing well. Historically, though, Henderson's obviously gone on to have a better career, I'd say, than what Ramsey has. But yeah, I remember I remember the Glenn Johnson's the best right back in the world argument as well. We don't have to go there. There's been a lot of takes over the years.
There has, man. It's been fun. But from your point of view, how well equipped and how well so far would you say Arsenal have done? Because from a Liverpool point of view, we obviously know this season wasn't supposed to be the year. It was supposed to be next year. It's extremely unprecedented. And I know you change your expectation throughout the season, but I've still tried to ask a lot of Liverpool fans to not get too angry if something goes wrong. Because as much as you're frustrated, nobody thought this was possible at the beginning. And if you didn't think it was possible at the beginning, it's seeming possible halfway through still doesn't change the fact that it's all the same players you didn't think were good enough to get us over the line in the first place. So, of course, expectations change. But a lot of people didn't even think we'd get top 4. Or they thought that would be the struggle.
I think we did a call just before the season started, and I said having to change a whole midfield, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool struggled this season. Not because they didn't think they had players, but what they're doing is quite extraordinary, because it's not often that you take out arguably the most important function of the team, replace it entirely, and it just works. Like normally partnerships have to build up, players have to learn to trust each other, they have to understand each other's movements and all of these things. So yeah, I remember saying like, you know, maybe a 5th place in the Champions League spot this season. That might be like what Liverpool should aim for. So I got that massively wrong.
Yeah. So from a Liverpool point of view, I do believe there's still a possibility something could just go wrong. Not because we're not good enough, just because we're not ready. I'm hoping not obviously with the club situation, because I thought it would be him who would take the reins next year, and then he'd have built everything this year. Bang, next year he'd be ready to execute. Whereas now it's like, oh, why? He's not even going to be here. So, you know, what's the situation? But from the Arsenal point of view, though, bro, how well do you think you're doing, and how well equipped do you think you are for the next 10, 15 games? Because we've got to include Champions League, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what you said about can't be too upset because of expectations, that was certainly the case last season. Like, I don't know Arsenal fan, or very few Arsenal fans said we were going to challenge for the title last season. So even though it was really disappointing to not win it, like when you kind of step back and look at the whole picture, like it's a massive progression from the season before. I was expecting us to mount a title challenge this season just because of what I saw last season and the fact that we went and spent significantly in the transfer market. And then it doesn't always equate to success, but I feel like as far as like low risk signing goes, Declan Rice is probably up there as one of the most, you know, like low risk. Like I don't think anyone was particularly expecting him to be a flop at Arsenal. It's gone better than I imagined it would, but like he was a pretty safe bet, I think. Obviously with Havertz, there was more question marks. Obviously Timber's really unfortunately got injured. You know, he's played one half of football in the Premier League this season. And David Raya proved it's another one of those ones where at the time it's like, what's Arteta doing? And then it's like, oh, that's what he was doing. You know, like there's that understanding.
You know a bit now, the Raya. Actually no, we'll come back to that. Go on, bro.
So I think like my expectations were that there was a part of me that was a bit concerned maybe that putting, similar to like what I said with Liverpool, putting Havertz and Rice in midfield and removing essentially Partey and Xhaka, I wasn't sure if it was too much change to mount a title challenge. Because when you think about like Xhaka and Partey, they were fundamental to Arsenal and they were the experienced heads in a very young group of players. But so there was a little bit of me maybe around October time that was like, I don't know if it's going to be a title challenge. And then we obviously had the losses to West Ham and Fulham, which when you think about it now, that those are the games that we dropped maximum points. Like those games, like of all the games we played, those are the ones. Like it's ridiculous. So it's an odd one in the sense that Arsenal feel like they're better than they were last season, even though at this stage last season we had more points. But it still feels like that they're more well equipped to see out the last 10 games. Obviously, the Saliba thing was a massive loss for us last year, and hopefully nothing like that happens again going into the final 10 games. But that could be the case of any club. The good thing is Arsenal getting all their players back at the right time, whereas we lost all our players at the wrong time before. Now we're getting them back at the right time. So obviously, like to say that I think we're going to win the league is a bit of a stretch because you just don't know. And City and Liverpool have the history of competing right until the end. But I think Arsenal couldn't expect to be in a better position than they are at the moment in terms of just, you know, I mean, going by the data, they're the best team in the league. Like, if you're looking at the underlying numbers of who concedes the fewest shots, who concedes the fewest dangerous shots, who should have the least amount of goals conceded, who scored the most of goals, who should be scoring, like all the numbers like back up Arsenal. And I know obviously numbers aren't everything, but it looks promising. I think it's probably the bit like my expectations. I can't say I'm expecting us to win the league because we haven't won it in 20 years. And it's not like if I was a City fan having this argument right now, I'd be like, well, I expect us to win the league because that's what we do. It's not quite the same with Arsenal, but definitely in a really good position, I think, with a really strong squad as well.
Yeah. I mean, Hollywood Rock, because I was just about to say this. I definitely think Arsenal beat City, they win the league. I know it seems very simplistic to say that with 9 games to go, which it will be afterwards, but I just believe that will be the mental boost that Arsenal need to believe in themselves. And then on top of that, it will also put City 4 points behind you, definitely. God's willing, it would be us as well that we beat Brighton. But even if it was just you, I think 4 points with 9 games to go, it would be quite hard to see Arsenal doing the same thing again. Do you know what I mean? Like 2 years in a row just seems a bit much. Like, I mean, it can happen, obviously, but it just, do you know what I mean? It just seems a little bit unlikely for Arsenal to do the exact same mistake they did the previous year. Do you know what I mean? I know your 4-point lead isn't as much. I think you had around a 7-point lead, but you still had to play them this time last year, didn't you?
I can't remember the specifics. I think it was an 8-point lead. They had a game in hand and we had to play each other. I think that's what it was, but I can't.
Okay.
But this wasn't like 10 games ago. This was going back to February. What happened last season was the World Cup really distorted how people thought the season was going. So like we were in like February coming into March, and it's like, the business end of the season, but there'd been like 5 weeks where there were no games during the World Cup. So it was like the fixtures you would have normally played by that time weren't quite the same. I'm not making excuses for Arsenal. The reason I don't think we won the league is, one, lack of experience, and two, you can't go from Saliba to Rob Holding in terms of quality. It's too much of a drop-off, and that is indicative of a squad that wasn't built to win the league that season. Like if you look at it now, and obviously the fact that Tommy injured as well, because all right, Saliba to Holding is a massive drop-off. Saliba to Ben White wouldn't have been as big, and Tomiyasu could have played right back, but Tomiyasu also got injured in that same match that people forget about, which is one of the reasons that we signed Timber, was because not to be a backup player, but just you got a player that can play centre back, right back, left back. You've got squad depth. Tomiyasu can play centre back, right back, left back. The problem's been availability, and Tomiyasu's coming back to fitness now. I believe he's in full training. You never quite know with him, but you can only take what you have available to you. And at the moment, he is available, so we can depend on him. There's some talk he's going to be on the bench for the Luton game. I don't know how true that is, but it's and again, the expectation can't be that you just come back and you're firing straight. Like you probably say it's best not to count on him for the season, but Arsenal definitely have depth where they didn't last season. I think like it just looks better across the board. Like when we lost, Jesus hasn't played an awful lot for us this season because he's been so inconsistent with his injuries, and you wouldn't really say you've noticed that. Like I think if you don't support Arsenal, you're not there like thinking like, oh, Arsenal have lost Jesus for a lot of games this season. Like he's their main striker, and he's I don't know how many he's missed, but he's not been available.
Bro. You can even I've noticed that he's been missing for a lot. Yeah, I have noticed. Yeah,
it's not been a problem, because Havertz has stepped up, and so from that point of view, like I definitely feel we're more equipped for it than we were last year. And I obviously I'm not going to say we'll win the league if we beat City, but you're right that it's a massive mental block that will be cleared. The whole thing with Porto in the Champions League is Arsenal are a much, much, much better team than Porto. But that game was played like it was because there's a psychological barrier with Arsenal that they haven't got out of the last 16 since 2010. They haven't been in the Champions League for the last 7 years. Like the only thing that made that game what it was the fact that Porto felt comfortable in their position and Arsenal didn't. So these kind of clearing these mental barriers are like really, really important things. I go all the way back to when we won the league in 1998 and we beat Man United at Old Trafford. And, Overmars scored the winner, and I remember that was when we might win the league now because we cleared that mental block of like, well, these are our biggest challenges and we just conquered them on their own ground. So I don't think Arsenal have to win the league, but I think if they do win, it will definitely look a lot more promising.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. So let's just quickly go into the fixtures as well, because I know a lot of people have been having these conversations, but I do think these conversations make sense based on who you're playing. Definitely plays a part in your possibilities of winning. So I don't know if you've seen Liverpool.
It's when you're playing. It's not just who you're playing; it's when you're playing them. Like
yeah.
Just to give you an example, like it looks like I think Tottenham and the Man City game will be on the last week of the season, so it'll be like a midweek game. If Tottenham have already qualified for the Champions League by then, and Arsenal are fighting for the title, what motivation does Spurs have to take points off of City in that match? Whereas if they're neck and neck because United have caught them and Villa are there and they're not sure whether fifth place is going to secure Champions League, like all of a sudden, like they got motivation to win that game. So a lot of it isn't just the fixture, but it's the context around the fixture at the specific time it happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, bro, because let's just do the Arsenal ones then first to touch on, because you end with Everton. So I was going to say the exact same thing. If it's Liverpool and Arsenal for the title and Everton have secured promotion, have secured their Premier League status, there isn't zero chance they want to take points off Arsenal if they know any points taken gives Liverpool a title. Not even from, like, I think it would be worse than the Tottenham one, bro. I think Tottenham would still have a little integrity, a little sporting integrity.
I'm not sure.
Everton, if they've secured their Premier League status, bro, they will do everything in their power to make sure Arsenal win that game. I'm telling you, bro. Like, but yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe Tottenham wouldn't. I don't know, but like, I've seen Tottenham have integrity in the past, whereas Everton they're always scummy. Always, like.
Going is that Tottenham are a better team than Everton, but I don't think, and you know, like these guys are still professionals. They're gonna try, but you know, once if like you can see the early goal or something, I think it's just gonna be like, oh well, you know, it's another day.
So you guys have, and this is obviously only so far because we don't know who you have when you get past Bayern in the Champions League. But so now you've got Man City, then you've got Luton at home, then you've got Brighton away, then you've got the Bayern Munich game sandwiched in between Villa at home.
Villa, isn't it? Yeah.
Then you got the Bayern Munich game sandwiched in between Wolves away. Then you have Chelsea away. Then you have Tottenham. No, so you have Chelsea at home, sorry. Yeah, Chelsea at home, sorry. Then you have Tottenham away. Then you have Bournemouth at home. Then you have Man U away. And then you end the season with Everton at home. On paper, it does seem like quite a difficult run. I'll be honest. I don't know what it sounds like to you. I'll say Man U away, Tottenham away, possibly Chelsea at home based on Chelsea's performances against top teams this season. And then obviously, it sounds a bit silly. I think Villa at home is more tricky than Brighton away, because I think the way Brighton plays into your hands. I think you'll smack Brighton because of the way they play. De Zerbi always gets bent over every now and again against teams who play football, because his team's whole philosophy doesn't work when the other team are just better at doing the same thing. Do you get what I mean? And Arsenal are way better at Brighton at doing the same thing. Whereas Villa at home, even though you're at home and you probably will win, Emery is more equipped, in my opinion, as a manager to be like, let's just get a point in this one and just park the bus for that game. And do you know what I mean? And not really do the high line thing, because he's very pragmatic. That's what Emery is good at. He's good at looking at the team he's playing.
Like I've seen him try and be pragmatic away at Watford with Arsenal when we conceded 30 shots. Like
no, but he has got Villa ticking though. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got
this season, but it's looking like it's starting to fall apart. Like basically, Arsenal fans are familiar with this pattern of you get yourself into a really strong position and then you go and get done 4-0 at home to Tottenham. I mean, fortunately, we never lost 4-0 at home to Tottenham. But you know, my point is that Aston Villa, I think they would have been 9 points clear of Tottenham if they had beat them. Instead, they're 6, and now United is 6 points behind them. And you're like, well, he's got priors of doing this. All the people that are talking about him being such a great world-class manager, like Arsenal fans are sitting there like, we know how this story ends because we've seen it before. He's not, and it's not just at Arsenal, it was at PSG. I mean, he was the only PSG manager not to win the league under the Qatari regime. And, I mean, he did win it, but he didn't win it in his first attempts. Like every other manager just won it on their first season. No hassle.
I didn't Poch need his second season?
Poch came after him. I can't remember if Poch won it in his first and not his second, or vice versa. But at the time, Emery was the first to
I know Poch came in halfway through, so maybe that was the year he didn't win. The year when he came and the season had already started.
Maybe. And obviously, Emery is had that, what was it, a 5-0 lead or 4-0 lead that he took to Barcelona in the Champions League with PSG and ended up losing.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm not going to lie. That was MSN. I don't even think you can blame Emery. That was just MSN in the new camp, bro. There's nothing you can do about it.
My point is that I don't like. I think Villa and Brighton are similar games. I get what you're saying about De Zerbi, but when we played them in the Emirates this season, after the post-match interview, he said Arsenal are the best team he's played all season. He was blown away with how they were basically perfect in every phase of the play, which makes me think if he's put that much praise upon us, he might be looking at that game thinking, well, I can't do that again because like I know how good they are. But I don't know, like on a personal level, I don't get too fussed about the fixtures because they are what they are. It's not like you can change them, right? It's not on paper you say Arsenal probably have the hardest fixtures, but they got them. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. If they want to win the league, they need to get points in those games. The thing that gives me confidence is our record against the bigger teams under Arteta. I think is second after Pep for, I'm not sure it's the last 2 or 3 years, but the head-to-heads, I think it might be since the start of last season, but the heads-to-heads is he's second in terms of the most points. And the only reason why we're not top is because we lost both our games to City last season. So there's an element of me that, like I said, if you want to win the league, you have to win these games. Like it's not like they're there. They can't. It's not like we can sort it out. It's not like we get a wild card or we can like change United away for Luton. I say Luton at home. We haven't played them yet, but you get my point.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's crazy. Like, I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, I just think Arsenal are going to win these games. But if you're looking at it from a football throws curveball situation, for example, if you lose Bayern away and you go out of the Champions League, which I don't think you will, but let's just say you did, to have Wolves away 3 days later might be an underrated, tricky fixture because Wolves are a team on their day can turn up and beat big teams at Molineux. You know what I mean? So if you're down and out, you could be feeling sorry for yourself and that one could slip through your fingers. Do you get what I mean? And you could draw or lose that one. But and on the flip side, you win and you're through and you're in the semi-final of the Champions League, you're absolutely flying. You probably beat Wolves 7-0. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of them ones of like, you just have no idea what the mentality would be like because we don't know what the situation will be. And I think maybe that's why Villa could be tricky for you guys, maybe a little bit tricky for you guys, even though it's at home, because it's sandwiched in the Bayern thing.
Yeah, it's position. But this is the thing: if you want to be in those competitions, and you have to do those games. That's why, like, you don't really know, like, the context around the individual fixture. You won't know closer to the time, right? It's Odegaard might get injured, or like you don't know what's gonna. That's why I look at the fixtures, but I don't. I think that obviously the two that really stick out to me are United away and Spurs away. The Spurs one in the sense that like it doesn't matter with Arsenal and Tottenham. Like when they play each other, it doesn't matter how they're doing in the league. Like it's a rivalry. Form goes out the window. You just don't know what to expect. So like I don't treat that fixture in the same way that I look at the other ones. And obviously United, I think there's just a massive mental block there of we always lose to them away, even when we're like miles better than them. Like we just don't. It's just not a nice ground for us. Anfield and Old Trafford historically just been two stadiums that Arsenal hate going to. You can obviously throw the Etihad into that now because I don't think we've beaten City there for 9 years now, which is insane. Or we haven't beaten them in the league for 9 years. I can't even remember which one it is, but it's stupid either way. Yeah. So. And one game at a time, innit? Like, let's find out. Because if we go to the Etihad and get pummeled on Sunday, which I don't think we will because of the way Arsenal are set up, but you never know in football. Like, we'll be
Even if you lose it, it will be a close affair. You won't get pummeled. There's no way it's going to be like 3-0 or 4-0 or something like that. You won't get pummeled.
I mean, last season it was 4-1. The season before that it was 5-0. The season before that it was 3-0. I know we're a different team now, but what I mean is these things, they leave scars on you, I think. So what Arteta really needs to do is he needs to get them thinking like none of that matters. None of that's important. Which I'm sure
you haven't even lost by more than 2 goals though this season, have you?
No. Oh yeah, we lost 2-0 to West Ham, but that was the most insane.
No, more than like that's the biggest deficit you have.
That was
3-0 or 4-1 or anything like that.
No, but the West Ham game, I mean, we played that game 100 times. We would have won it 99. Like, it's one of the most insane games of football I've ever seen in my life, man. The Fulham one afterwards, we just weren't on it that day. But the West Ham one, like, we were really good against them, and we just couldn't score, and just got sucker punched. But that's why I said it's so frustrating, because you look at those two matches, they should be an extra 6 points really that Arsenal should have right now. And if you suddenly add 6 points onto what we were 6 points clear in the league, and that's why, like, I hate this thing of saying like my team is the best or my players are the best, because it's so subjective. But I think it's hard to argue when you look at the underlying data that so far this season Arsenal have been the best team in the league in terms of just not letting in goals, scoring goals. Like the you know, just the metrics show it, right? And like that doesn't always mean that what you're going to get in real life is the same, but the numbers are there for all the underlying numbers show. Like, I keep seeing this graph of expected goals, and you've got like all the teams like here, and then Arsenal just like down here in the corner and like by themselves, and it's just like, it's insane, because as somebody that's used to the latter Wenger years and the season under Emery, like, we were conceding goals left, right, and centre, conceding shots left, right, and centre, and the fact that we don't even really give teams good chances now, let alone chances. Like, when they do get a chance, it's rare that it's even like a particularly like a strong chance. So defensively, I mean, there's been some jokes among the Arsenal fan base that Arteta is more Simeone than he is Guardiola, but it's like it's been amazing the turnaround, because even last season I think we ended up conceding 50 goals or something. So the fact that this season it's just like teams are finding it really hard to score against us, that will always give you a chance, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Liverpool's success under Klopp was definitely built on the foundation of Fabinho, Matip, and Van Dijk just forming an unbelievable defensive line that just, you know what I mean, just made it very hard to get through 100%. I mean, I'm looking at a scenario just briefly where Man United away is the second to last game of the season. If Tottenham do a job on City and you beat City yourselves, you could even go into them last two games with 3 points to drop, in terms of like, you'd be that far ahead of them that you could drop the 3 points. So the Man United game away is so late in the season, it might not matter. It might, obviously, but it might not matter. Like, if it was in a couple of games' time, I'd think it might matter a bit more. But second to last game of the season, we could, because here's the thing: a lot of people keep on saying they think it's going to go to the wire, and I don't see anything wrong with them thinking that, but something just tells me that two of the teams are going to be kind of out of it by the third or second to last game, and we'll already know who will be the winner by then. Like, I don't really see it being anybody can win it on the last day of the season. Like, that's too fairy tale-ish. Like, I don't know what you think.
I tend to agree, in the sense that just 10 games out is still too far to predict what's going to happen on the final game. Like, 10 games is a lot of games. Like, it feels like the international break's over, in the final stretch of the season, it feels like we're right down to the end. Arsenal have been in title races in like 2009, 2010, I think 2010, 11, even in 13-14 when Liverpool almost won the league and City ended up winning. Like, Arsenal were in the title race for a long time that season. People don't remember it because with 10 games to go, 8 games to go, they fell off. So I think like I can understand why people are getting excited, because, you know, from a neutral point of view, the Premier League, even the battles between Liverpool and City, from a neutral point, they've been quite boring, like, because there's been no drama in them. It's just win. That team finished with more points, they won the league. Like, it's great if you support one of those teams, especially City, but like, from a neutral point of view, like, there's nothing to like cling on to and be fascinated by there. Like, I always say the thing that really got me into football, like really, like, I'd always liked football. That really got me into it was when Blackburn won the league on the I think it's the 94-95 season. They won it on the last day of the season, and they lost and United drew. Like, it was so captivating because there wasn't perfection there. Do you know what I mean? It was just chaos.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. integrity, bro, because
I think,
Liverpool beat a team that they knew would give their arch rivals the title,
yeah,
but we
yeah,
still had integrity to play the game right. Do you know what I mean? That's why you would hope Tottenham or Everton would have that same
yeah,
integrity.
we'll see. But I just think that people have latched onto this three horse race because it's been 10 years since they've seen it. I think it's just, yeah, it's exciting to them, right? So they and football, even if you're like the top pundit or just a casual fan, like football has this reaction where everything is instant. So what happened today is what's going to happen forever. You know, like a team lost today, they're rubbish, they're never going to win again. A team wins today, they're the best team ever, they win the league. Like, it's very
Yeah.
hard to have context and nuance when you're supporting a football team. So I agree that 10 games is too far to assume it's going to go down to the wire. Arsenal don't have a history. We've won 8 in a row. So you're telling me that if we win every game between now and the end of the season, we're going to win 18 games. Arsenal aren't going to win 18 games in a row. They're not. Okay, it's teams don't generally do that. Even I think in City and Liverpool's crazy runs towards the end of the season, they weren't that much. They might not have lost 18, 19, 20 in a row, but there was like a point where they drew a match and then went on a big run. Like, there's no way Arsenal are going to end this season winning their last 18 games of football. So Arsenal are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. Like, even with Liverpool and Man City, I don't feel like they are. I mean, Liverpool's a weird one because everything you look at with Liverpool, you're like, how are they doing this to an extent? Like, because I obviously don't.
Even with our injuries,
Yeah,
I don't know how we're still in this race, bro. To be honest
adrenaline,
with you,
isn't it? But I mean, they're obviously a very good team as well. But I can just see a scenario where teams drop points, and City have. It's a weird one again because City are quite similar to the amount of points they were on this time last season. But it still feels like they might drop points. Like there's just something about them. So I get so focused on Liverpool, I forget City are even in this race. So
let's go. Let's touch on them then, because I think the only way they drop points is if they drop points soon, because their fixtures are you guys at home, then they've got Villa at home, then they've got Palace away.
They are going to smash Villa, by the way. I'm just saying that now. They are going to absolutely batter Villa.
Yeah. There's no way Villa do a double over City in the season. No chance. They'll beat them up. Palace away, that is tricky for City, like historically.
Yeah. I remember
that is tricky.
Penalty to win that game for them.
Then they've got Rome. They're away in the first leg. They've got Luton sandwiched in between at home, which is an absolute banker. Then they've obviously got Real Madrid away, and then this crazy thing is because they won the FA Cup, the Tottenham game is postponed. It was supposed to be the Tottenham game, but it's been postponed. Now, that could have been real tricky because that would have been the same scenario with you guys. If they go out to Real Madrid, Tottenham probably take points off them because they're like in that like weird place where they can't believe they're out, whatever. If they'd have beat Real Madrid, they'll probably go on and beat Tottenham with the confidence they'd have had. That game being rescheduled now becomes a semi-final against Chelsea. So it's like, it's not important to us whether they win that or not because we don't care about that.
Yeah, I agree.
I
mean, if they then went out to Chelsea, that could have like implications further down the line for them in terms of like losing.
That'll be their competitions they're out of, and then the only competition they'd have left would be the league, which would be kind of
at the same
which would
time,
be good for.
It would be, but at the same time, in the Invincible season, I think we went out of the Champions League to Chelsea, lost to United in the semi-final at FA Cup, and we still managed to go unbeaten until the end of the season. So it's not given, but you might look at that and say like that could damage morale a little bit.
I would probably say more it would guarantee the league win though. They'd have nothing left to concentrate on, and then this would be their fixtures after that. It would be Brighton away, Forest away, Wolves away, Fulham away. Oh no, sorry, Wolves at home, Fulham away, West Ham at home. And that's the last day of the season, the West Ham at home. So they'll definitely win the last day of the season. Fulham away could be tricky second to last game. Fulham are a very tricky team away from home, as most teams have actually found out. But you would probably arguably say you're looking at Brighton, Forest, Wolves, Fulham and West Ham as their last 5 games. Knowing City, they win all 5 of those games if they need to win them to win the league.
Spurs, I think, would be the penultimate game. So it would be mid. So if the final game on the weekend of the season,
yeah,
that would,
I forgot Tottenham postponed
Spurs midweek, I think. But look, to be completely honest, again, it goes down to context, because if Arsenal and City both go through in the Champions League, which they want to do, and then they have to play each other in the semi-final, it changes everything. It changes the whole dynamics of the season. All of a sudden, Liverpool are probably looking like favourites, depending on the point situation, because Liverpool don't have to mentally and physically engage in that fixture. You know, like those two teams will go through a lot if they both get to the semi-finals. So again, like, we don't know what's going. That's what I mean. It's still quite early, because we just don't know what's gonna happen. I would expect from experience that we will probably at best get a point against City. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, we'll win." I need to see it to believe it, because I'm more on the cautious side. I think I'd expect Arsenal to beat Luton at home. If they don't, they don't really deserve to. No disrespect to Luton, but especially when it's at home, like, you know, we should be winning that. Brighton away is 50-50, but again, you'd expect Arsenal to do quite well in that fixture. So I'm looking at, like, if we can take 7 points from the next 3 games, that looks good, I think, for Arsenal. Then I think we go into Bayern.
100%.
The way I look at it is I try and look at it in phases. So rather than thinking about like game 36 or 37, like the next 3 games are a block. So it's City, Luton, and Brighton. Then it's the Bayern Munich, Villa, Bayern Munich, and Wolves. Like, that's a block. And then we'll take it there, because after that, I don't know whether we'll be in the semi-final. We might not. I don't know if we're playing Madrid or we're playing City. So it's like, it's too much to get, I think, too far ahead. And I think it's the same with City, but just because they have a history of winning 7, 8, 9 games. Like, what was City's last match? Was it against you lot?
In the league,
I think it was against Liverpool. So Liverpool. So
I'm not sure. Yes, in the league it would have been.
So both Liverpool. This is something I find interesting. Both Liverpool and Manchester City are starting from 0 on winning run. Like, how many games are you won in a row? 0. So if they win their last 10 games, they won 10 games in a row. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's doable.
Yeah.
I'm saying Arsenal are on 8. Like, just physics
8 winning.
That, like, it's not going to go to 18. So I wouldn't even. Obviously, I want to beat City. Like, I'd snap your hand off to take 3 points at City. But a draw wouldn't be a bad result, because, like, we can almost be like, right, let's go again. You know, like, let's start again. Because if Arsenal beat City, who are they dropping points against? Because they are dropping points between now and the end of the season, just because. Name me teams that have gone on at 8, like regularly gone on at 8. I'm not sure what the number is for most games won in a row. I think it's like
somebody just put. I think it was the GOAT. Big Up said in one of our title races, City and Liverpool did do 18 wins in a row.
Okay. So yeah. But like, Arsenal aren't, like, this Liverpool and City team aren't as good as those teams, in my opinion. So, like, I don't think a team is going to do that. Like, we haven't seen
18 wins. Is unheard of. It is that. I think that would have been the 98, 97 point season most likely, or the 97. Yeah, you know, like when we both had like that. That's unheard of, because even that points tally is unheard of. Until then, no, you know what I mean. Teams have done that apart from the Centurion.
The league could be won on 88, 89 points this season. Like, I won't be like, I expect it to go into the early 90s, but I think it could be won in the high 80s. Like, it's not. It's like when you think that's almost 10 points less than like what City and Liverpool are doing. It's quite a big difference. So I don't think, I don't think the team. It's not that the teams aren't as good. That's not fair on the teams. Like, all 3 of the teams are very good. It's just that those 2 particular sides were exceptional at that time. So yeah, well, it's an interesting one. I mean, we haven't even touched on Liverpool yet, but
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's dive in. I mean, I've got one question to ask you quickly before, but we'll dive into that. But Ozan Kabak here says, didn't know you had your own channel, Drift. Big up yourself, bro. Definitely appreciate that. And you are officially the first super chat up on Drifty TV, bro. So big up, man. History has been made today, people. Big up yourself, bro. Appreciate that. Yeah, just before we jump into Liverpool, just quickly, you're gonna beat Bayern in my opinion. I know you're not gonna say it because it's a tricky one and you don't want to be too confident, whatever. You're gonna beat Bayern. Who do you want that you think is an easier team for you to get past, Madrid or City?
I want Madrid, and it's not if we do beat Bayern, I want Madrid, and it's not because, I mean, Manchester City are the best team in the world, so you should, whoever City you're playing, you should want the team they're playing against just by default, right? Like the only way I probably wouldn't want City is if they were somehow playing Spurs, and the thought of playing Spurs in the semi-final of the Champions League is too much for my heart. But the reality is that I want Madrid, but I want Madrid because it's twofold, isn't it? One, Manchester City are the best team in the competition. Two, it throws a whole different dynamic into the Premier League title running, that these two teams have to keep getting points and then play each other in the Champions League. You know, did Liverpool and City...
the part you'd be more worried about is the fact that you have to play each other in and amongst all of the madness, kind of.
Yeah, because it's like, who can just keep it? Because it only comes down to ability-wise. When you look at all three squads, I wouldn't say there's not a massive gulf between all three squads, which is why they're where they are. But like, it's just a lot to ask. It's like that comes down to who's got the mentality to see it through, really. And yeah, I think, like, if it ends up being City and Arsenal in the semi-finals, like, yeah, everything changes in the title race, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so,
the only thing from my point of view, and I'm going to be a hater, the reason why I don't want City versus Arsenal to be the semi-final is because if somehow you beat City, which could easily happen if they beat you in the league, because there's no way that they beat you. There's no way that you lose to them 3 times.
Yeah,
you know
I know.
What I mean? So the ability you could knock them out by beating them in the home Champions League, and then I can't have Arsenal winning the Champions League. And if you beat City, you'll win the Champions League. Like, who would you have in the final after that semi? It'd be Inter Milan or the team side. Yeah. No team on that side is winning the Champions League.
It's Barcelona, Atletico, Dortmund, and I can't remember the other team. But
that's not. It'll be Inter then, isn't it?
Atletico knocked Inter out.
Oh yes, it didn't they?
But I can't remember them because I don't rate them. Honestly, I don't have the same affiliation with the Champions League.
Who is actually on the other side? For real?
I'm sure someone in the comments.
PSG. Big up pressure. PSG.
I got a feeling PSG are going to get to the final, just because if you look at that side of the bracket, I feel like it's going to be PSG or Atletico going to get to the final.
But let's be honest. Mbappe aside, Arsenal wiped the floor with PSG in the final.
Do you know what? You say that, and I agree with you to an extent, but you're thinking of it in terms of the quality of the teams. But look at the Champions League final between Liverpool and Tottenham. It was like you lot essentially were playing a mid-table club in the final of the Champions League, and look how nervy it was. Like, it doesn't. One-off games aren't the same. It's not the same. And also, Arsenal have not been there before, and it makes such a big difference. But anyway, that's getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. All right, so just before we wrap up, then let's touch on the Liverpool fixtures. So we got Brighton this weekend at home.
Was it at home? It was away.
Yeah, it's at home. But bro, Brighton have got a brilliant record at Anfield, so I'm still worried.
Trossard's not playing for them, so I don't know if that changes it.
Then we got Sheffield United in the midweek game. That's at home. Then we got Old Trafford for the United League game, obviously. And then sandwiched in between Palace at home is the Atalanta quarterfinal for our Europa. Then after Crystal Palace.
In that game, isn't he? Because he's gone quite strong in Europa so far.
Yeah, definitely in the quarterfinal stage as well now. Yeah, Atalanta aren't mugs, so we've got to take it serious now. We'll have to play a strong team. They're just not Sporting Lisbon out, who was one of the favourites for the Europa League. Yeah. Then we've got Fulham away after the Atalanta game. Now, bro, I'll be honest with you, that game worries me. Fresh off the back of the Europa League, not only because of the things we've discussed about how hard Fulham are to play this season at the Cottage, and the fact that they've already scalped Man U at Old Trafford, and they've scalped Tottenham and Arsenal at the Cottage. it's after a grueling away game in the Europa League, which could be easy, but I don't think will be, because I don't think we'll have a big enough lead from the home game, if we have a lead at all, for that to be a comfortable away game. So I do worry a little bit about coming back from Italy in that away game. And if we go out, we'd be probably devastated and upset, and then it could affect us the same way we're talking about you guys. If you go out to Bayern Munich and you've got Wolves away, Fulham away is a very tricky game if you've gone out to Atalanta and your morale's down and whatnot. And then Everton away straight after that. Again, Everton might be rubbish this season, but you know already Derby's form just goes out the window. You know what I mean?
They rarely beat you though, don't they? Like, when was the last time that they beat you?
And they normally get draws, you know, bro. If you go historically through the fixtures, it's really weird that they.
It's a terrible result.
Yeah, they come out and a draw F's up our title run. And then we got West Ham away, which is a tricky one. We got Tottenham at home, which I hate, because every time we've been in a title race, Tottenham have had a draw at Anfield. All the title races we've lost to City, Tottenham have got a draw at Anfield. I hate them. And then Villa away, Wolves at home is our final game of the season. So Villa away, second to last game of the season, is not a good fixture.
Yeah, my conclusion from hearing all these fixtures is that if it does go to the final game of the season, whoever's top of the league wins the league on the final game. Because would you say Arsenal have Everton at home, City have West Ham, and you have Wolves? Like, it would take a lot for City always beat West Ham. Like, there's even a running joke on Twitter that they're like a partner club, like they help each other out, or West Ham help City out.
They do. At home, they do, innit? They do beat them all the time.
So I think what we can say is, if it goes to the final game, whoever's top of the league on the final day of the season before the game starts, probably going to win the league, unless it's a goal difference situation. Because in that case,
because obviously your goal difference at the moment.
But yeah, I think it's safe to say that even though it might go down to the wire, the reality is it will probably go down to the penultimate game of the season at best. Because if any of those clubs lost those games, it would be a major shock. I think. Especially like you said, with the context of Everton. Maybe if Everton are fighting for survival, but even if they're fighting for survival, I'd still expect us to beat them at Emirates.
That's the only scenario where I can see them being a banana skin, is the possibility of, if they lose and they're relegated. Like, if the scenario is they lose, they're relegated, they could fight for everything they had and somehow pull off a draw or a win. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, stranger things have happened. Yeah. But do you remember when Sunderland managed to pull off a win against Man City when they were scrapping for relegation? And it was like one of the biggest shocks we'd ever seen.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was at the Etihad as well.
Was it? Yeah, I remember. Wasn't that when Vito Manone had like the game of his life, because he used to play for Arsenal? I remember.
And I think Barini got the winner.
Yeah.
In that game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So stranger things have happened. Do you know what I mean? But big up, Ray. Big up yourself, bro. For your super chat, much appreciated, man. So solid conversation. Thank you for the content. Appreciate that, my bro. And you know, I didn't even realize this actually. We got 4 away games in a row. Did I read that? Did I actually read that?
Yeah, Atlanta game.
Including Atalanta. So Atalanta away, Fulham away, Everton away, West Ham. Jesus, this flipping the Premier League are doing everything they can to get in our way. Like, I know from an outsider's point of view, say you probably think we're just whining and moaning. I swear to you, bro, that it feels to me like they want Man City versus Arsenal, and they cannot believe Liverpool have got in the way, and they have done everything from PGO almost screwing us in games to like. How can you have 3 Premier League games in a row? How is that? I don't even understand how that's even a thing.
I think everyone always thinks their team's the hardest done by officials.
All the 12:30 kickoffs, we've officially had 3 times as many 12 o'clock kickoffs as everyone else.
That's another point I think as well, is a lot of this season, I think Paul Mertens is coming around this. A lot of it will also come down to who plays last. because you don't want to, if each weekend all three teams are winning, you don't want to be the team who's playing last every weekend. Like, you want to be the team that like has the ability to set the agenda. You don't want to be the team that has to keep up. So I think,
well, that'll be us, unfortunately, bro, because we're playing on Thursdays in the Europa, so that will actually be us.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of fixtures are going to get moved to Sunday for TV. Like, we'll obviously we'll see. We don't know, but yeah.
What you mean, City and Arsenal games?
Yeah, I think a lot of games will just be moved to Sundays. I mean, I don't know if they've done the fixtures on TV until the end of the season, but it's mad how much the broadcasters are. I mean, I guess they pay billions, but they have a big say in these things, and people never really talk about it. Like, they have a massive
yeah, bro, because they made us play at 3 o'clock, I think it was, randomly. Yeah, they were just able to just pick a time. It was like, it'd never been, was it 3:45? It's like a time that's never been done before. It's not a big deal, but it's like, right, they can just do that. Yeah, they can just make the time whatever they want, really. As it stands, I think all the times are set, you know. Wolves is a 4 o'clock game on the final day of the season, but we all play the same time that day. At the moment, the only two ones that I'm not sure if this is real or not, because I know they normally put 3 p.m. as like a basic, don't they, until otherwise. Villa away and Tottenham away are both, and Tottenham at home, sorry, are both set at 3 o'clock. I don't think that will be how it is, maybe, but the rest of the games, West Ham away is a 12 o'clock game, bro. We're in the Europa League and we're still getting 12 o'clock games. Like, seriously, bro, like.
But like, I remember once Arsenal being in the Europa League on Thursday and having to do the Monday night football, and then the Thursday game after that. So yeah, it's just, it is what it is, isn't it? Like, this is what I mean, is why there's no point trying to think too much about the fixtures, because you just have to take them as they come. The goal is win the next match, isn't it? That's the aim.
Yeah, that's all we can do, man. But bro, look, we're gonna make this a regular feature. Because I've enjoyed this. I know the people have. And obviously the running's going to be very interesting anyway, bro. So it'll be the first of many. Big up yourself on your debut on the channel as well, bro. Big up to everyone who was watched. I hope you lot enjoyed this. If you're watching this afterwards as well, please do subscribe if you're new. And yeah, and big up to the 2 super chatters as well. My 2 first super chats on the channel as well. So it means a lot to me, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, anything you want to say before we leave the people out?
Just I hope Arsenal win the league, and I'm sure no one else does.
And I hope everything but.
Even though they've got 115 charges, and we talk about how like something we don't, allegedly it seems like something might be going on there. We'd still rather City both win the league than Arsenal or Liverpool. Like, as in, like,
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, it just goes. That just tells me everything you need to know about how we feel like about City as a football club. But
yeah, because it was United and us two in this race. I wouldn't know what dog I had in what race or whatever. It would just be the. In fact, you know what, bro? I'll be honest with you. That is a title race that, as much as it would be sensational for the Premier League, is the 3 legit clubs. Nah. My heart could never take Man United, Arsenal, and Liverpool in a 3-horse race. Nah, that would just I couldn't take that. And what a great way to end the show with a big contribution from the Herbsman. If anyone doesn't know, especially in the KOP-ISH community, has been literally one of the most generous and just pleasant people to have around on the streams. Always comes with good questions, always has good points, and has been extremely generous with his gifting of memberships. So Herbsman, again, big up yourself, bro. Like, massive appreciation. And obviously it's a super chat here saying big up to me. So I appreciate you, Herbsman, definitely. But yeah, we'll end it there. We'll call this part 1, and then we'll be back. We'll be back after the City game. We'll know so much more. Literally, you know what I mean? We'll know so much more after the City game. So yeah, big up yourselves, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed. Smash the like button on your way out, or if you're watching afterwards. And we'll see you on the next one, people. Big up, man. Peace.